What's up? Let's see here. All right, that should be good. All right, we're good to go now. Everything's straight. And I will show you guys my plants at the end of the stream because we're working with not very much battery life here. Gotta grab my big torch from out here real quick. Oh, doo-doo-doo, where's my big torch? There it is. Grab this RSO package so we can go over some of the specs on this deleted scene. I really need to change the, what do you call it? The specs where you turn the camera left to right. Gamers know what I'm talking about. Left is right, right is left. There's a specific word for that. I'm not a gamer, so I don't exactly remember. All right. Got everything set up here. Turn my cell phone on so I can bring up the Rumble stream so I can see if anything's going funky anytime. All right, well, you can fall over. That's just fine. You do your thing over there. Fall over. I ain't gonna yell at you. Presentation, solo, auto, duo, background. What's that? Oh, it's the background. Looky there, koala. So what's up? How's the world? Let me get this thing situated where it can actually see me. Hello, Molto. Keep cutting my face out with the banner at the top. Can I move the banner to the bottom? Text. Edit. Edit. Bottom. Save. Boom. There we go. That's better. Now you can see me. Here I am. All right. So, though I do kind of prefer the camera on my phone a little more because you can't really see my setup in here that well with this camera. Suppose that's all right. All right then. So, thought it would be of interest to discuss. I'm always writing, don't break the law while you're breaking the law. Put that on all my posts. My aunt, actually, she's the one that first gave me that bit of advice. And it is quite sensible advice, really. Just don't break the law while you're breaking the law. So, for example, example I like to use a lot is if you're driving down the interstate with the quarter pound of candy. Now, before I say all this, I do not condone any type of illicit activity. These are simply discussions about things I've done in my past, things I may have not done in my past. You don't know if it's a story or if it's real life. So these are just simple stoner discussions. Anyway, don't break the law while you're breaking the law. You don't want to go driving down the interstate with a quarter pound of cannabis on the seat beside of you without it even being packaged up or wrapped up, let alone being stored away somewhere in the car sensibly or there to be thrown out quickly. No, it's there sitting nice and open to make a big mess if anything would happen, and you're cruising down a 50-mile-an-hour area of the interstate going 70 mile an hour with your seatbelt off and the music blaring and the windows down and smoking a joint. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Multiple laws being broken at the same time. And most of which, that's what a lot of people get busted that way, just doing stupid shit like going to a festival and leaving the festival with things in their pockets. Very silly. Cops watch festivals. Cops take down tag numbers of vehicles entering and at festivals. For example, Hippie Fest, a festival in a town near my hometown, very, very big, popular Sunshine Daydream. At Hippie Fest, the police in Garrett County, now the Terre police really don't fuck with anybody. Once in a while, they'll sit at the end of the road, try to catch people leaving with shit. But as far as being on the private property, they don't mess with it at all. They never have. But the Garrett County police will sit on the hill, and these are the police I'm getting ready to talk about with the strip search on me, would sit on the hill on the Garrett County side on their four-wheelers, and they told my class this in the DARE class, and when I was in middle school, they would sit up on the hill and use binoculars and call in tag numbers of vehicles that were sitting down there in the field. And when the vehicles would come down the interstate, the cops would, on the interstate, they would have a whole line of police. If you've been in Garrett County on the interstate, you've seen them line the cars up down the interstate the way they do to catch people one after the other. And they'll just grab those tag numbers that were at the festival. So yeah, that's the type of shit that Garrett County police like to do. Now, mind you, as I said, the police in the county where this festival takes place have no problem with the festival taking place. There's never been issue. There's been one instance of somebody almost being unalived, and that's because some idiot was doing something he wasn't supposed to be, and the owner ran that person off. And when they took off, they accidentally ran over a tent with somebody inside of it. They didn't delete them, but they almost did. So I got a new Terp slipper, by the way. My girlfriend loves me. She's amazing. She's awesome. She got me one of these. I haven't had one of these yet. It's not a jumbo. It's not a typical, what I call the vacuum slurper. It's not one of those. That one's missing the plate on the bottom. It's not a vacuum slurper like that, except with a regular barrel. It's not like that. It's not one of the jumbos like this, regular size, but just a bigger top. It's got a slightly larger top, but it's a shorter barrel. It actually works very nicely. It's not too short so that the pearl can't pick up and function properly. It functions very nicely, in my opinion. So I'm going to have me a dab here, and we're going to have a nice dose of RSO while I discuss why exactly one of the reasons I moved away from Garrett County. See, the whole thing, don't break the law while you're breaking the law, applies to this, because the whole reason I got pulled over when this whole incident happened excuse me. The whole reason I got pulled over when this whole incident happened was because the guy that was riding with me, who was a known individual by the police, it was because of my seatbelt. Not my seatbelt, rather, he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. So we're on our way driving back up the mountain, and down the hill, it comes a tractor and trailer, another car, and then I could see, I've always been able to pick up cop cars from a long ways away because I've always had to deal with the harassment from the assholes. So even with my bad vision, I can pick out the outline of a cop car way off in the distance before I even can see the actual vehicle. There's just something that like clicks whenever I see that shape. And anyways, and yes, there is a certain shape to the cop car. They're all, even the Durangos and like the smaller cars, they've all been worked on and shit and like beefed up in a way that they're very unique in appearance. At least to somebody who knows cars. Anyways, and I could see that there was a cop behind them, and I seen him as we went past. I seen him smash on his brakes, and not like brake on the mountain, like he smashed on his brakes and started pulling over the side of the road. So I knew he was coming after us. So what I did is I knew that I had an expired temporary tag on my car because I just bought the vehicle, and I was honestly getting ready to go back down to the dealership to get the guy paying $50 to write me another temp tag, even though they're not supposed to do that. He did, which really pissed the cop off a week later. Anyway, I'll get to that. I pulled into a little gravel road and pulled back in, and I pulled into a house acting like, figured maybe he would think I was just going home or something. I didn't know he knew who I was, where I was coming from. But he knew who I was and where I was coming from. So he knew that wasn't my house. So he pulls in up at the end of the road, and we seen him pull in and just park his vehicle there. He didn't chase us back in, because what if it was my house or something? I don't know. I don't know why he didn't come back in after us, but he didn't. He sat right there, and it was a dead end. We had no choice but to go back out past him. So I drive back out, and as soon as I turn and go to the stop sign, he throws his lights on and pulls up behind us before we get out on the main road. He walks up to the vehicle, and as he comes up to the vehicle, he opens up the door, doesn't even come up to the window or anything. He comes up to the vehicle and grabs the door and opens up the door and tells us we need to step out of the vehicle, me and my friend. And I said, why? What are you even pulling us over for? Why did you chase us down? Because he told us then because my friend didn't have a seatbelt on. Now, mind you, when I say my friend was a good bit older than me. He was in his late 40s, early 50s. And there was reason that the police were investigating the situation, but they had nothing. They'd been being ducked and dodged quite a bit, to the point where, like, one of my other people that I knew went to this person's house to visit them, and upon leaving said house, got pulled over by an unmarked minivan with DEA agents inside. Needless to say, not long after all of this shit went down, there was a significant bust of illicit activity, much of which I wasn't involved in. I've had my sordid history. However, point being that this guy had his past. He had his things that the police would be looking at him for. But the only thing they had on us that day was a seatbelt. Him not wearing a seatbelt. That's it. Then when they got behind us, naturally, he ran my plate and figured out that I had a dead tag, gave him more reason to fuck with us. So as he's running my information back at his vehicle, I gave him all my information. Now, mind you, we were on our way back from the methadone clinic. I go to and still go to a methadone maintenance clinic. Now I receive a good many take home, so I don't have to go every day. But at that point, I had to drive every day, and him and I drove together. We would switch back and forth so that it saved us money. Quite expensive to go there if you don't have the money and medical card, and if you do have a medical card, it's still expensive to drive there every day. Because the rural area we lived did not have a methadone clinic. Has a severe opioid problem, very severe. Has a doctor that'll prescribe Suboxone to females. Think about that one. Not many males in his practice, kind of weird. It's just a very, very bad situation up there. So he's running my information in his vehicle, and I start getting sick. I have a long history with police insofar as my childhood is concerned, and they trigger me. I get very, very triggered by cops instantly, to the point where they think that I'm hiding like a fucking rocket launcher up my ass whenever they're around me. And I can call the police, and they're there for me, for my benefit, and I'm so fucking nervous that they get suspicious of me. So I don't like police. I don't like them. And I got extremely fucking nervous and started getting upset on my stomach because I had just dosed on my methadone, which was a very high dose at the time, and had just eaten a yogurt from Sheetz. There's little Sheetz yogurts with granola. And I specifically remember all this to the T. I walked over to his window where he was like, had his door partially, his foot kind of hanging out, and I like pecked on the door window, and I said, dude, I'm getting ready to get sick. I'm just letting you know I'm going to throw up. And I didn't even hardly get the sentence finished when I turned around and started throwing up. He stopped what he was doing and jumped out of his vehicle, Maryland State Trooper Bob Farrell. And yes, I use his name because what he did to me on this day was a bullshit. It wasn't right. It wasn't fucking right. The way he harassed me after this wasn't fucking right. The way he grinned at me in court whenever all of the $800 in fines got dropped was fucked up. So Bob Farrell, State Trooper Bob Farrell, K-9 unit. He's also not a standard state trooper. He wears the black uniform with the boots that pants you tuck into the boots and shit. Yeah, baseball cap, that guy, K-9 unit. He stands over top of me. Mind you, I'm 18. I think I might have been 19. He's standing over top of me, screaming in my fucking ear. Not screaming over my head, screaming in my ear at the top of his lungs like a man screams. You ever heard a man scream? Not a little fucking pussy. A man scream. Like if you've ever heard me yell accidentally, I don't know. If you've ever heard somebody fucking bark loudly, like, you know, like somebody who can call off a big dog kind of bark. He's screaming in my fucking ear like that. Yeah, Mr. Fight, go ahead, fucking puke him up. I know you fucking did him. I know you did. I knew you had something in the car. You fucking ate them, didn't you? You ate all the drugs. Go ahead, puke him up. I'll find them. The whole fucking time I'm throwing up. And I'm trying to tell him, like, no, it's fucking granola. The yogurt's right there. And mind you, my prison-hardened friend who was with me in the vehicle at the time even told the cop, he's like, dude, you need to back the fuck off him. The boy's sick, obviously. He's nervous. Like, put that in perspective. My friend who was like, you know what I mean, prison hard, fucking looked at it, was like, dude, back the fuck off. Come on now. So I get done throwing up, and naturally there's no drugs in my vomit because I didn't have any drugs. We didn't have any drugs on us. However, he was determined to find whatever he thought we had in the vehicle. So he calls in the narcotics task force for the county, and first another state trooper shows up. And what's funny about the way they park their vehicles is when he parked his vehicle, it was faced in such a way, typically when they pull up behind you, they come up behind you and face like this, so that if a vehicle comes up and hits their car from behind, it would project their car out onto the roadway and not down off the roadway towards the officer who's likely in an unsafe situation standing on the passenger side of the car. So the officer's car sort of acts like a shield, okay? It would get pushed forward, hit the other car, and it would prevent a worse situation. And it also allows their camera to capture what's right in front of them. The way he pulled his car was completely fucked up. Like he pulled his car in facing so that the camera was just looking out into the woods. Then when the next state trooper pulled his car up, he pulled his car facing down the mountain. Like my car's sitting this way, he pulled his vehicle sitting this way. So the camera wasn't seeing anything either. And people are like, well, what about their body? They didn't have body cams. Even here in fucking Cumberland, where I am, which is the city nearby this rural area, they don't have body cams down here. They're supposed to, but they don't. They have the money for them, but they still don't have them on their fucking uniforms. So none of this shit got caught on camera or body camera, conveniently enough. And this was over 10 years ago, mind you, now at this point. Doubt anything can be done about it now, although I did report it to the state police barracks in Baltimore not too long ago. He continues going through the vehicle, searching my car, trying to find things. At one point, he goes, let me take this dab here because I'm going to get started on my dabs. At one point, he goes to his vehicle and gets out what I come to find out is a drug identification kit, and then goes back to my car, picking things off the floorboard. Now, hang on a sec here. Wowee. That hit a little harder that time. From sobriety to high, that fast. So he goes over to the other side of my vehicle where we can't see him, obviously, opens the doors up, starts picking stuff off the floor, and comes back around popping the kit and flicking it. And he says, "You know what that is, mister?" Says my last name. I said, "I don't fucking know." "What?" He said, "That's purple. That means that's a positive identification for THC. And I said, "You're full of shit. Like, there's no way." That's what I said. "You're full of shit. There's no way. There's absolutely no." I said, "I have never had a bag of cannabis open in that car ever because it was a brand new PT Cruiser. I knew I'd never had weed open in the car ever. Specifically, I intentionally not ever opened a bag in the car so that no seeds or flakes or anything ever fell on the floorboard. I was genuinely that paranoid when I used to smoke cannabis when it was illicit. I mean, I would ride around with fucking weed in my ass crack. Not even kidding." People can laugh about it. People can joke about it. What the fuck ever. But when cannabis was just as illegal as heroin and cocaine, there's no difference between stashing a bag of coke in your crack versus a bag of weed in your crack, because you're going to get, you're still getting punished for it if you get caught with it. So I was extremely paranoid to that extent. So I knew there was nothing open in that car. And I was adamant about that, which I know now that it was a fake fucking drug test, and he put something in there to get that false test to come out as a false positive, or he had cannabis that he put in there himself, because he left the test. I have it somewhere buried in my junk here. I need to find it actually, because people never believe me. But I have the test kit because he left it laying on the floorboard of my car with all of their fucking gloves and everything. Like, they didn't even pick up their shit when they left my car because they were mad because they couldn't arrest either of us because they had nothing. Now, oh, yeah, before he even searched the vehicle, mind you, he had to run the dog on the car naturally, right? Because he has K9 unit. He runs the dog. He gets the dog out of the vehicle before he does any of the searching, and he runs it on my car. And he's like, "Do you have any drugs in the car?" I said, "No." And he said, "Have you ever had anything in the car ever?" I said, "No, but I'm telling you now, your dog's going to alert on the car because I smoke cannabis." And this is where he tried to get me with the drug test, with the little tester thing. He tried to say that I had weed in the car and said that I admitted that I had weed in the car. No, what I said was, when he asked me about the searching the vehicle, if there was something in the car, I said, "No, but I know it's going to alert because I smoke cannabis, and I know that the dog will alert to just the residue off my fingertips. When I touch the steering wheel, it will alert on that steering wheel for up to 48 to 72 hours after I've touched it. So obviously, if I smoke cannabis every fucking day and I drive my car every day, your dog's going to alert on the car. And on top of that, I have an empty bottle of methadone in the center console, which is prescribed to me and is supposed to be with me right now." He goes and runs the dog on my vehicle with my methadone bottle still in the vehicle, knowing that the dog is going to alert, one, on the cannabis. I knew that on my fingers, but maybe the dog wouldn't have. But it's definitely going to fucking alert on the bottle of methadone that's sitting in the center fucking console that he refused to take out of the center console. And then he's like, "Oh, it was a positive alert." I said, "No shit, man. I told you there's a methadone bottle in there." "Yes, it was a positive alert. Fucking duh, fucking huh." Anyway, so there was that. And at that point, it was just him and the other state trooper there. And then he called in the drug task force. Which was, they brought in 2 or 3 other K9 units when the drug task force came, and they were searching the entire area from where I drove my car back to that house and parked it all the way up to where he pulled us over at the stop sign. They were absolutely adamant that we had some. I was afraid they were just going to find some random shit that somebody had tossed out at some point in the past, and we were going to get in trouble for it because they were searching like a huge fucking area with the canines, like a big ass area, an area like within throwing distance of that road. You know what I mean? All the way out into the woods, around those people's yard, all kinds of shit. And what if those people were fucking drug dealers and they had something buried in the fucking yard and they found it while, like, that shit was going through my head at the time. So when he comes around, he does the little fucking drug kit thingy and tries to say that I said I had weed open in the car. Again, I told him, no, I told you I smoke weed every day. Then they decide they're going to strip search us, okay? And this is with the entire drug task force team there, which was 3 or 4 guys, and then the main little short fat dude that was in charge, Dave something. I can't remember his name exactly, his last name. Dave something. It was Dave something. And he was standing right fucking there with Bob Farrell when they fucking strip searched me. And I don't know if that was supposed to be like cover for fucking him if I ever tried to do anything about it. But it wasn't just me. It was the dude that was with me too, okay? So they open up the doors on my PT Cruiser. Here's my Cruiser. Here's his vehicle sitting here like this so the camera's not looking at my car. Like I said, he had it facing out into the woods. And then when the drug task force team pulled in, they pulled in facing this way. And then there was that other state trooper sitting out here on the interstate on the byway facing down the hill. And there was like 3 vehicles back in this way. But none of them had fucking cameras on the incident. Then they opened up the car doors on my PT Cruiser here, opened the car doors up, and then brought me in between the car doors, which all good and well, but it wasn't like the wood line was there or anything. The fucking road was right behind me. The byway, the main mountain coming out of the fucking county going into the county. And there were cars driving up and down. And it was like 40 fucking degrees this day, 45 maybe. It was cold enough that it was cold. Like it wasn't freezing like wintertime, but it was fucking cold when you pull your goddamn pants down and your underwear down. It's embarrassing to even fucking say. Like like maybe for people who've been in prison, it's not like, yeah, you fucking used to fucking, you get used to it and shit. But to have a fucking cop pull you over and have 2 of them stand like, I'm in between the fucking car doors, like both car doors here, and a cop here and a cop here, both of them standing fucking like real aggressively up at me, pull your pants down. And I pull my pants down, they're like, boxers too. And I was just like, what the fuck? They're like, do it. And I pull my boxers down, and then they swear to fucking God, this was the routine. Lift your sack up. Now lift your dick up, separate your dick from your sack. And I think that was it. Lift your sack up and separate your dick from your sack. But do you know how fucked that is for a fucking cop to do to you alongside the road? To have that kind of fucking arrogance that they feel that that's okay to do. It's so fucking fucked up. And when I went to court, the judge who saw me in court is a judge who's getting in trouble now for doing some fucked up shit. So like he's a crooked judge anyway, which everybody always knew that. But he didn't give me a fucking chance to say a goddamn word when I went to court. He just dropped all of the fucking because when I left there, Farrell, he pulls me over after, let me finish. He strip searches me. Then he pulls my buddy over between the car. He's like 50 years old, starts strip searching him. And of course he's fucking prison hardened. So when you're strip searching him, there's like, what's under your nuts? You know, the hair, motherfucker, you want to see? And yeah, he was instigating them the whole time, like talking about, they were like, yeah, cannabis will be legal soon and it's not that big of a deal and blah, blah, blah. And trying to get us to like say, would admit that we had some shit or something. He's like, yeah, I fucking think all goddamn drugs ought to be legalized. I think it's fucking bullshit. Put it in your fucking body, he just kept doing the criminal thing that criminals do. Criminals. People that live that lifestyle, like Sons of Anarchy fucking lifestyle, if you will. That kind of lifestyle. Anyway, they strip search him. Didn't find anything, naturally, because we didn't fucking have anything. The only thing they didn't do was search our ass, okay? Which, they had our fucking pants pulled down, so... And I don't remember. They may have made me squat and cough. I honestly can't remember. I don't remember that. They might have made me squat and cough. I know it was extremely fucking uncomfortable, and it was extremely fucking cold. Anyway, so that happens. Then, after he gets done ripping my fucking car to pieces, which I said it was my brand new PT Cruiser. It was 2006, and this was 2010 or 12 that this happened. 10 or 11. 2010, 2011 that this happened. After he gets done searching my car, strip searching us, after screaming in my fucking face when I was throwing up, not apologizing for a fucking thing the entire time, being extremely sarcastic and passive aggressive and just aggressive, normally fucking aggressive, yelling and screaming and just being a fucking asshole, accusing us of all kinds of shit. And when nothing came of it, he pulls me over with the drug task force guy, and they're trying to get me to say something about the guy that was with me. And I was like, dude, we're not doing anything. What the fuck do you want me to tell you? Like, we're going to the clinic. We just came fucking back. Like, that's all the fuck we did. And I don't know what to tell you. And Farrell was like, yeah, that's all right, because you're getting a shitload of fucking fines, whether you like it or not, Mr. Use my last name. And I was like, for what? I said, okay, number one for your fucking registration. But I said, yeah, my tag, okay. Give me the fine for my tag. What else? He starts writing me fines for not giving him my insurance card whenever he asked for it, which was a lie. I gave him my insurance card. And he was claiming that my insurance card was illegible, or he couldn't read it, or some dumb shit, and was refusing to call in to validate it. So he charged me with that, which all this shit got dropped in court except for the fucking tag. The tag and his seatbelt, which he got charged with. He had me written for all kinds of shit. Just, I can't even remember what it was, because it didn't matter, because it all got thrown out when I went to court. I didn't even have to fight it, because they knew what they did. Like, that county is so fucked. Like, when I went into court, I didn't have a public defender. I didn't do shit. I just went in by myself because I knew I didn't fucking do anything. And the judge drops all the fucking charges except for the tag, the expired tag, okay? Now, that happens. Now, when I'm leaving the courthouse, Farrell looks at me, and he gives me this big fucking grin and reaches out to shake my hand. And I can't remember whether I shook his hand or I kept walking. I honestly can't remember. I was young at the time, so I may have shaken his hand. I don't know. But just the arrogance of that. And then about a week later, about 2 weeks later, something like that, first, he pulled over my sister for coming to my house. She came to my house, got a sweatshirt from me. He pulls her over just down the road from my house and asks how she knew me, what her relationship to me was, why she was at my house, and then let them go. Then it was maybe, I don't know, 2.5, 3 weeks after he pulled me over and strip searched me. I was coming back at the same spot up the hill, and he was sitting where he always would sit to fucking pull people over, because it's a 50-mile-an-hour mountain at a fucking really steep grade, so steep that trucks smash into the wall at the bottom and fucking disintegrate. And he sits at the bottom because it drops to 35 and then 25. And it's still on a real steep grade. It just, what cops do. So he pulls me over coming back up the hill. So I know I wasn't speeding. and it was snowing real bad, and it's really snowy area. If you're not familiar, your tag gets dirty. It kicks up cinders and dirt and stuff all over your tag. He pulls me over, he says, because he can't read my tag. So, which I didn't know, but he pulls me over, and when he's walking up to my vehicle, he screams up to the car, "All right, Mr. Fuck." My last name. "All right, go ahead and step out of the fucking vehicle. We're going to do the same goddamn routine we did the other day." And I was like dumbfounded. I said, "What? For what? What are you pulling me over for?" He said, "Because your tag's dirty. I can't read it." I was like, "Oh, whatever." I couldn't argue with him. I knew it was fucking dirty because there's cinders all over the place. I know it had cinders all over it. Every vehicle did. But this time, he had another vehicle behind him, and that other vehicle was, I don't know if it was his superior or somebody he was training or who the fuck it was. It was a redheaded cop, and he was standing there while Farrell was running all my stuff, saying he was getting ready to get his dog out and search my car. And I told this guy what he had done to me just a few days prior. And this guy didn't say anything to me. He kept his mouth shut the whole time, and just like he thought about it for a second, and then he like kind of made his head shake like that, and then he walked over to Farrell's car, and then he walked away and walked back to his car. And when Farrell got out, he comes over and calls me over to the front of his car and told me he doesn't appreciate me making up lies about him harassing me, that he's simply patrolling the area because people speed there, and he gets calls to come there and patrol the area for speeders. Whatever. He gives me my ticket or my license and stuff back. Didn't do shit else and told me to go. That right there is enough to tell you that he knows what the fuck he did when he strip searched me, and all that shit that he did that day, writing $750 in fucking fines that he knew were bullshit. Like, he should not have gotten away with that. And the fact that I was young and I don't have a family really that gives a fuck about me enough to fucking back me up on anything like that, I didn't know how else to, you know what I mean? The judge fucking just ran me right over in court. I didn't have a chance to say jack shit. He didn't ask me if I wanted to say shit. That I don't recall him asking me if I was, maybe he did, but I just wish I would have done something more about that, because I know goddamn well if he did that to me that blatantly in the middle of the day, and that wasn't the only shit that happened. I mean, another time, the guy that was with me, he was coming back from the same place, coming back from the clinic, and he'd come back up the interstate to McHenry this time. And when he got into McHenry, a state trooper pulls him over. Well, the state trooper comes up to his vehicle and looks real weird at him and gets his license, goes back to the state trooper's car, and then comes back up and just lets him go. Well, when he gets into Oakland, which is a few miles up the road, the same cop, Bob Farrell, comes flying up behind him, like really fucking fast from wherever he was at. So that Bob, he called in and told over the CB to let him go, that he was coming and he would grab him. And that's what they did. And he grabs him up near Walmart, and I think they took his truck from him that day or some shit. I can't remember. It was that was all crazy situation. He had some other stuff going on as well, but just the fact that most of it was over cannabis and people smoking weed and people who had weed, and it's fucking crazy. It's ridiculous. I remember one of my buddies got busted, a really big bust, and it was all fucking like hippie shit. It was all like acid, mushrooms, cannabis, hash, and like they fucking nailed his ass for it. It was insane because like that, it's insane. It's crazy. That's crazy, and it's crazy that there's still people sitting in jail. There's still people sitting in jail who put work into the genetics that are on the market today, that are still behind bars for doing that thing, that are being sold by millionaires. At least in your fucking social equity states. This social equity thing in Maryland is a fucking joke. It really, really is a joke. Race-based social equity. No. No. That's not at all what it is. Oh boy. Yeah, check out my locals and check out some of the articles I have on the numbers related to the race-based social equity system here in Maryland. Like 10% of the market being black investment, 75% white men owning the initial market. Crazy shit like that. $50,000 fucking licensing. $50,000 fucking dollars. It's insane. It's absurd. Just for your license. Just for the ability to say you're allowed to do that. That's live sugar and sauce. Very good. Now I've noticed something that companies here in Maryland did. Used to, sugar all looked like this. All of the sugar had a significant amount of sauce in it. Like so. All of the sugar had like a lot of sauce like that. Sauce and like crystals, right? Sugar. Now they've made it into sugar and sauce, and then you can get sugar. So the sugar is fairly dry, and then sugar and sauce is like nice and wet like that with the sauce in. I'm like, I figure out any way to jack the price up a little bit, huh? Sales tactics and shit. It's like taking the weed and taking all the fucking keef off the weed and then selling the weed and being like, well, I'll sell you the keef too. And you can buy weed or you can buy weed and keef. Not really, but that's kind of how I see it. All right, it's time for me to take my R's. I should have taken it a little earlier on before I took my dab. It's all right. Oh, I hate these caps. Please change these caps. Please change them. It can't be that expensive to change those darn things. Get the rubber ones. The rubber ones are better. These things hurt your fingers. And I have strong guitar playing lumber mill wood man hands. And they hurt my fucking fingers to try to open these bitches. I almost break the fucking syringe trying to get them open. Jesus Christ. Like, what the fuck, dude? I'm not even... there we go. I got it. Like, glued on there. fuck's on my eye? I've got a crusty on my eye. Alright. This is deleted scene. And I have the bag here because I wanted to check out the specs on it because I have not yet. So 1 unit, 1 number on here, of which there are 10, is about 74 milligrams. Because it's about 743 milligrams total. 732 milligrams total. Wait, 738 total. 738.5. So about 74 milligrams per unit. I'm going to take a little more than I have the past 2 nights. I'll take like 1.5. I put it under my tongue, not swallow it. I swallow it eventually. Eventually, because I am the procrastinator. And I will do it eventually. So deleted scene. I don't know what the hell the genetics are. No idea. But total terps, 81.5 milligrams, which I guess 8.15%, maybe? Yeah, 8.15%. That's right. Milligrams per gram. Move it over 1 place for the percent. So alpha pinene, 2.3 milligrams, which is 0.23%. So beta pinene, 0.26%. 0.23%, 0.26%, 0.49%. So that's like probably like a 50-50, which wouldn't be surprising for an RSO. That's what the alpha beta pinene ratio says on that anyway. Because alpha pinene plus beta pinene is approximately alpha pinene plus beta pinene, each taken in ratio to the sum of both, is approximately equivalent to the lean of said strain, with alpha pinene equivalent to sativa, beta pinene equal to or corresponding to indica. And then there's terpological reasoning for that, like reasoning terpological in reference to the aromatic and genetic expression of the natural occurring cannabis and how that appears and changes in modern cannabis. Yeah, and that's spelled out essentially in the terpene profile. And yeah, it's quite interesting. But that's one of the patterns that I found, is that alpha pinene plus beta pinene, each taken in ratio to the sum of both, is approximately equal to the lean that the industry assigns to the strain. And as I argue, at least, that I think it's more accurate to take the scientific, people can say it's an inaccurate scientific foot, blah, 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 what the fuck ever. It's not inaccurate because it's fucking like gas, chromatic, spectra, GCMS, and fucking liquid spectra chromatography, really advanced shit, okay? So, and no one profile can be repeated. So every one is unique. The 0 level is set for each profile because every one is unique. That's why there's the not detected and then 0%, because 0% isn't actually a real 0%. It's 0 relative to that profile. Anyway, I argue that using that specific of a scientific analysis of the post-harvest cannabis, as well as knowledge of the, if you have access to the post-harvest cannabis bud structure, aroma, and taste, etc., that those things combined give you a more accurate representation of the lean. You don't even have to take into consideration the aroma and the taste. Just take bud structure, the analysis, and knowledge of the genetic origins of that strain, which the industry is essentially just using genetic origins and pre-harvest structural characteristics to assign lean to the strain, which is why I argue that I think it's a little more accurate to take what they are already doing, those characteristics, in addition to a scientific analysis of that cannabis, and to have a better understanding of the terpenes and cannabinoids and the interaction between them, so that you get a better understanding of the lean and how that specific strain, that specific profile, will impact you specifically, experientially. So it is a little bit dependent on each person, because each individual has to understand the terpenes for them and how it affects them. And while that is true, cannabis varies for everybody. It is also true that happenstance exists within a range. So it's not like it's wildly different from most people. There's outliers, but for most people, the therapeutic benefits are relatively similar. So anyways, moving on. The beta myristine's 0.41% in this. Limonene, 1.62%. That's a lot of limonene. Terpinolene, 0.06%. So when you see low terpinolene levels, that's a very good indicator that that's low sativa expression. Terpinolene is a very characteristic terpene of sativa brightness, if you will. Fincholinalol, 0.59%. So all of these are indicating indica lean. Humulene, 0.67%. Beta-caryophyllene, 0.261 or 2.61. So interesting. Delta 9. Well, okay, yeah, that's obvious. Because it's not THCA, it's just THC. Huh. So beta-pinene is only slightly higher than alpha-pinene, but it really seems like this is more like, I don't know what the genetics are on it, but at least a 60-40. It might be even a deeper indica lean, but I don't know, because I don't see it. I need more of the indica, the cannabinoid profile, and RSO profiles are kind of sparse. They're a little sparse. Anyway, if you're interested in all that bullshit with the cannabinoid profiles and terpene profiles,
I have a lot of information that I've put into researching all of it. I need to close that window. It's cold on my plant. Cold on my plant, that's what it is. I have a new plant that popped. I have to show before I jump off here. It popped and I transplanted it. Flip camera. Alright, we have... Come on, there you go, camera. Good job. And it's already popping the center leaves up out, so it's not going to be one of these. Yeah, that thing fell off, the weird antenna leaf, the other one. So I'm going to leave it sit there and see if it falls over or wilts and, I don't know, dries up or what it does. I'm hoping it actually propagates some leaves in the center and grows. But I don't know. If it does, and it's male, I'm still going to keep it because I'm going to keep the pollen. Yeah. And that's the auto. The $100 OG. It's got some fucking weird leaves down here on the bottom. They come out weird to begin with. That one, I hit, the bottom leaves are a little bit light green because I hit it with a little bit too heavy phosphorus. Too much garlic, way too early. So a couple of the bottom leaves are fucked up, but I think I saved it. I flushed it, and I don't know. I think it looks alright. It looks pretty good. Not bad for my ghetto ass setup. Oh, let's see. Flip back. Flip camera. No, don't do that. Flip camera. I don't want to share my screen. There's an option on here that says share your screen where I can show you guys what I'm fucking doing on my screen. Anyway. Later.